Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope. All right, Brett, welcome to episode number 45 of the Glum Lot Podcast. I'm glad you're here. I don't want to do this alone.
I know.
Yeah, it gets lonely on the microphone.
I'm here for you.
Great. Hey, for everybody out there, I know it wasn't very hard.
Great.
Yeah, great.
Let's move
Shut
on.
up. Don't forget to join the Facebook group.
Yeah.
The Glum Lot Podcast Facebook group. You'll get all the first drops of every new episode that comes out, plus entertaining little tidbits from Brett.
Yeah, we've been trying. Yeah, and Mark posted a little something today. It was a good thing that I guess he saw. It was like a saying or something like that.
Yeah.
Little tidbit stuff like that.
It was about how comparison is the death of joy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and it's so true. And also, if you want to contact us, if you or someone you know would like to be a guest on our show, contact us at theglumlotpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And we'll talk.
Yeah, if you have ideas or some feedback for us, share that as well.
If you hate us, tell us.
Yeah,
Tell
we
us
know
why
how
and
to handle that.
You
now.
hate us, yeah.
Yeah.
We won't get a resentment, we promise.
Well, maybe at first, but we'll work through it.
We'll work through it.
Right.
We'll work our steps.
Right.
So what's on your mind today, sir?
I remember when I first had the promises of sobriety, I was looking forward to having all the things that I wanted, all the, I'm solved now, so all the blessings and wonderful riches of the world will be upon me now.
Yeah, so it's the beyond your wildest dreams.
Yes.
But when you first come in, your wildest dreams are pretty fucked up, pretty ego-based.
You
You know what's funny? I got to tell you a funny story. Mike R., who was, there's two Mike R's that were on.
Yes.
The first Mike R. that was on is a very good friend of mine. I was at a rehab meeting. There was me and 3 or 4 other people from the outside that came into the rehab. And when it was my turn to speak, I started talking about, your life beyond your wildest dreams.
Yeah.
And I said, when I first came in, my wildest dreams were like a really nice sports car, a great house, like a beautiful, beautiful wife.
Yeah, well, of course,
all
because
these
they
things.
tell us that the money you're going to save on booze.
Yeah. Well, that's true. But what they were really talking about was my life beyond my wildest dreams. And this is the reason it was beyond my wildest dreams, because I didn't know what it was like to live a life of honesty, good, strong relationships, open relationships with other people, how to live without lying.
Peace.
Trying to work on fear, all these different things I didn't think were even going to be a factor ended up being the creation of my life beyond my wildest dreams. So I spoke and I told that little story. Well, the next person to speak was Mike. And he goes, you know what? That guy's full of shit. He goes, he's got a freaking BMW sports car, he's got a beautiful wife, and he's got a great house. And everybody fucking loved it.
Oh, of course, yeah. Leave it to an alcoholic to point that out.
Yeah, but like you're saying, the rewards. I mean, you hear the rewards, and maybe when you first hear them, you're like, yeah, whatever. It's another fucking AA thing they read, and you're like, yeah, whatever. But later on, when you start to think about them, I can't rattle them off because there's a bunch of them. But you start looking at those, and if they're not something that you have earned in your sobriety, there's something you can work towards.
That's right.
And they're not out of reach anymore. As long as you don't pick up a drink, and you keep working on yourself and go to meetings, you got a shot at getting and making these,
all I think about is that very, very famous TV show and hearing
What's
Serenity
that?
Now, Seinfeld.
Oh, Seinfeld, yeah.
And
Serenity
that's,
Now.
That's what I feel like, though. I remember my wife was like, who are you? I was like, I guess I'm just at peace. Because I was always, crazy. Just crazy.
Well, you become a different person.
So.
Because the person who you were will drink again.
Oh, right.
So you got to become a different person.
Yes.
Speaking of different people, we've got a great guest who I have known for 35 years, maybe. We went through early sobriety together.
I'm looking forward to hearing some of this.
And great guy, always just fun to be with, great sense of humor. And He's our guest today, you know. So let's welcome Joe B.
Joe B.
Hey.
Joe B., welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast. We are so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. And we're going to start with your sobriety date, as we always do.
11/8/22.
11/8/22. And what number sobriety date is this for you?
What do you mean?
I mean, how many sobriety dates have you had in the past?
Okay. Like, what the hell was that?
Joe and I go way back. And like a lot of people, he's bounced in and out.
Yeah.
You know, and which is why it's great to hear from him, because people want to know, you know, what happens, what went wrong, what went right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to come into your first meeting and stay sober from that day on, you are a unicorn.
I guess I'm a unicorn.
You're a unicorn, but you know what? I mean, how much sobriety did you have the first time around, Joe?
23 and a half years.
23 and a half years, yeah. So we always like to rewind to how you got started in your career of alcoholism / drugs or whatever you had. So do you remember your first experience with the effects of alcohol when you were young?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you know, I always tell people I started drinking when I was probably, I don't know, it was between 2 and 4 years old.
We have a record.
Did you have a bottle with a nipple on the end of it? Holy shit.
I know that sounds funny, but it was before school, and I used to watch my parents give alcohol to the neighbors. So then what I would do is pop a top, go out with 2 cups, and my buddy across the street would pour beer in 2 cups, and we would drink on the
So
street.
this reminds me of that famous farm picture where there's 2 little kids in overalls, and they got the straw hanging out of their mouth. You guys were sharing a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a good picture.
And did you guys catch a buzz, or did you not really know what it was?
I don't remember none of that stuff.
Yeah. What about your first experience with the effects?
Probably 14, something like that. Yeah. 14, I started drinking, and then it just, it got worse and worse. So,
What it make you feel like?
Euphoria.
Yeah.
You know, just that great feeling of
Good
fall in
warm
love with it?
fuzziness and
Yeah. Just that great feeling of like, what am I going to do next now?
Did you fall in love with it from the get-go?
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
The taste of it too.
Yeah?
Oh, you
Taste of
liked
beer. Yeah, I still kills me.
Yeah,
so let's move on.
Goes with the
No,
territory.
I know, but
I
that's
know.
just saying. That's just part
Yeah.
of my story.
If I catch a
course.
whiff of tequila, after 34 years of not drinking, if I catch a whiff of tequila,
Really?
my mouth waters. Yeah.
No kidding.
It was
Interesting.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Same thing with like somebody cracks open a cold beer on a hot day and you catch a whiff of that fresh
I can
air that
relate
comes
to.
out.
Yeah.
You're like, God damn, that smells good.
Yeah.
And the alcoholism isn't going away.
Yeah.
But I know better.
Yeah.
And I know
That's
what to do.
Yeah.
So you start drinking in your early teens, not unusual.
No.
Right? Start smoking a little dope.
Yeah, I did do that. Yeah.
Yep,
Smoked
yep.
some pot, did some speed.
Okay.
Mushrooms, LSD.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the first
Sorry.
shrooms, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
remember some shrooms.
But at the time, it seems kind of normal, right? All your friends are getting fucked up. And
Yeah, I mean, you're
something to
talking
do.
the 70s, right?
Right.
So the 70s, we were doing all that stuff then.
Yeah.
So,
And it was kind of accepted with our peers.
Yep,
It kind of made you even kind of cool, you know?
I agree with that.
And so did you make it through high school okay?
Not really. No, I was drinking during high school.
Okay.
So between periods, I was actually had a bottle in my belt, and I would go to the bathroom and drink between periods just to get through a day.
Holy
So-
shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've known this guy a long time. I never knew that.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
let's rewind a little bit. You're in high school and you're already exhibiting some of the like heavy alcoholic tendencies.
Yep.
You need that buzz.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're sneaking in a bottle of what? Some kind of...
Jack Daniels.
holy shit. All right. And is anybody else doing that?
Yeah, there was some guys in school that
Okay.
drank like I did. Definitely. I have a best friend of mine that did the same thing I did. So.
Was it an image thing at that time?
You know what? No.
Yeah.
No, it was for the effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you drank
definitely.
for effect at an early age.
Yeah.
And so did this at all seem to you abnormal? Or were you like, this is what I'm doing?
No, it was just seemed right? It felt like that's what everybody else was doing. Why can't I do the same thing?
Right.
So
So you graduate from high school?
I did, barely.
Nice.
It's hard to graduate when you're drunk every day. and I know, because I know you, that you ended up joining the Army.
I
right?
did.
Did you do that right out of high school?
Yeah, so I was on I joined up. I had a 6-month delayed entry, and then I went in January of the following year. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. What was your experience like with booze and pot and everything in the military?
So back then, you could still get away with drinking and smoking. You know, during basic training, we weren't drinking.
Yeah.
But I was one of those guys that if we went to a little, they called it a PX, but it was like a convenience store, that if there's guys that wouldn't drink, we were only allowed 2 beers each, so I would find them guys that didn't drink and get theirs.
Yeah.
Their
So
share,
I could
yeah.
drink, yeah, you know what I mean?
Now, you're at Fort Dix, New Jersey?
I was at Fort Dix during basic, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could drink during basic, huh?
Yeah, well, it was just when they said we could.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And you're loving that. When they say you
Oh,
can, you're
yeah.
off the fucking reservation,
yeah.
right? And so you get out basic, you go to your school, and where do you go? Where do they send you?
Same place, Fort Dix, New Jersey.
No, I mean when you get your job. Where do you
Oh,
go?
yeah. I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Okay. Well, what happens there?
Then it's like a job now.
Yeah.
So it's like a normal job. I just go do my job every day, just like we do today out here in the civilian life.
But I mean, with alcohol.
Oh, yeah, I'm drinking. So
Are you drinking on the daily?
No, just every night. I wasn't drinking during work or anything like that. But we
Okay.
could smoke then, and then things tightened up a little while when I got it going in there.
No, when you say you could smoke cigarettes.
No, you could smoke pot.
Really?
They weren't checking yet. They weren't doing that
Oh,
yet.
okay. There was no drug testing or any of that stuff. They
Correct.
just took you at your word.
Yeah, and then it happened about, I don't know, maybe 6 months when I was there. It started happening, and people were getting banged for it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ruined everything.
Did your time at Fort Bragg, did you increase your alcohol consumption, or was it kind of just like a normal
No,
go to work,
I
have
slowed
some
down.
drinks?
Yeah, I slowed down.
Okay.
Slowed down a lot. Yep.
How long were you in the Army for?
3 years.
Okay. So you do them all at Fort Bragg?
Yeah, all my time there, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get out of the Army, what do you do?
I went to Florida for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. I got married when I was in the service.
Ah, okay.
So I got married to a woman that was 9 years older than I was and had 3 kids when I married her.
Yikes. That's a lot to take on.
Yeah, that was a drinking habit then.
So you go down to Florida and you turn it up?
Yeah, a little bit. And then I got involved in a religious religion.
Yeah.
And then I tried to subdue it quite a bit.
So you get involved in a church,
Yep.
right? And you start thinking, you know what? I'm going to pursue this, and alcohol's not going to be good for this.
That's correct.
So you slow it down. What happens? It's at some point, obviously, the wheels come off, right?
Yeah. I mean, probably just couldn't take it anymore with her, what was going on in my life with her and job situation. And I just started, balls to the walls, pretty much drinking again. Mm-hmm. So it just didn't stop from there. From that point on, I never stopped.
So the marriage is over?
Yeah, that one is.
Okay. Foreshadowing.
That's marriage number one, ladies and
yes,
gentlemen.
yes.
Marriage number one and one
were you a
child
bar
out of
guy
it.
or were you a home guy?
I
or?
was a bar guy,
Bar guy.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the beginning I was.
Yeah.
And then at the end of my career, I think I went back to just around both, bar and home.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So do you leave Florida after the thing falls apart?
Yeah, a year and a half, I finally leave. I can't. Both of us actually came up because we were still together. Came up, and then we lived in a certain area, and I just couldn't do it anymore, and so I left. And when I left, that was the end of it.
Okay.
And then eventually she contacted me and wanted a divorce, and we split the costs and divorced.
Yeah. So you're on your own again now, right?
I got a girlfriend now.
Okay. You didn't waste any time.
Yeah.
But what does that do to your drinking and or drug use?
Back then?
Yeah.
Oh, it increased. Big time. Big time.
So are you
increase.
drinking on the daily?
At that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay.
Every day, yeah.
Is it becoming unmanageable at all, or you just don't see it?
I don't see it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, not by any means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was she partaking as well, this particular one?
The one, you mean the one before? My wife, you mean?
Well, both of them. Were either one of them?
No, the first wife was not partaking. I mean, we split up and that was the end of it. I don't care. It didn't matter. Second wife was in recovery like I was when I met her.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Let's touch on
Sorry,
that.
I
That's
know.
okay.
No, that's
hey,
okay.
you know what? I'll bring you back.
Yeah.
How did you get into recovery? Was it during your first marriage?
No. Second,
Okay.
not even my second marriage. I was on my own. I was single when I came in the program.
How did that go down? Did you have DWIs?
DWIs.
Okay, how many?
So I got a DWI in 87, and then I got another one in 1990 and another one in 1990.
Oh, you got two in 1990?
Right. So I ended up with a DWAI in 87, and then I ended up with, out of the mother two, I ended up with just a DWI in 1990.
So as part of this court system thing, you get evaluated, right?
Correct.
And do they send you to outpatient or anything like that?
Yeah, I went to a drunken driving thing to try to get my license back. I had to go, and I ended up in rehab also.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I went to rehab at a VA hospital.
Okay. What was that, 28-day or?
Yeah.
So, but do you want to get sober at this point? Or are you just kind of like going through the motions?
No,
to get your
I was
license?
kind of going through the motions with family really putting the pressure on me.
Okay.
So they're putting the pressure on me. I want to get it done. You know, when I got done with rehab, I'm like telling everybody, hey, look at me, I'm sober now.
Yeah.
But really it wasn't, nobody wanted to hear that, especially anybody who drank, especially my family that drank.
Oh, no kidding.
okay.
Yeah, they didn't want nothing to do with that.
Did you go to any AA meetings as a result of that or no?
AA meetings, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Afterwards, when I got back from rehab, I did.
Okay. Do you remember your first meeting?
Yeah.
Did you raise your hand and say, this is my first meeting?
No. And my first meeting was in the 80s,
Oh.
and I did not raise my hand at that meeting.
So did you hear part of your story? Did you relate? Did you feel like this might be something for you when you first came in?
You know what? The walls closed in when I got to that first meeting.
Yeah.
So that was tough. I couldn't deal with that. I just didn't want to be in the pro. I could tell you something. I did not want to be in AA.
Yeah.
That had nothing. That was furthest thing from my mind, right? And I just couldn't stand being there. It just took
It was like
time.
a death sentence.
Yeah. I was being forced to be there, and I didn't want to do that. I was on
Now, how are you being
probation,
forced? Did you have to-
probation?
so you had to get your paper signed.
Oh yeah.
So back in the day, for the listener, the young listeners, back in the day, you'd be on probation. You'd have to get a paper signed by the person who was chairing the meeting or stamped.
Correct.
A lot of people faked it.
Oh yeah.
They forged their own. And eventually AA was just like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. What would happen is like 10 guys would walk in, drop their papers on the table, and they'd leave.
Yep.
And then they'd come back at the end of the meeting and say,
You
where's
stamp
my...
that?
Yeah, did you stamp my paper? So after a while, it was just like, this isn't doing anybody any good.
No, you didn't do this, though.
No, and I didn't. Actually, I was in the meetings every time.
Okay.
All right.
I never walked out of a meeting. I've always was in a meeting when my paper was getting signed.
Did those first meetings plant a seed in you, though?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
How that worked for you?
So I'm going to tell you that when A ruined my drinking career,
Awesome.
okay?
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because in 1990, I came in the program for, that I thought I was going to stay sober. I stayed sober for a year and a half. The first time I went back out, so for the next year and a half, I went back out drinking again. Within that first time I ever went back to a bar and had a drink, I felt guilty.
You had the
AA was
in the
in
head.
your head.
Yeah,
Can you
100%.
can you rewind us back to that? So you got a year and a half sober. Do you have a sponsor? You're working the
I had
steps.
a
I knew that
temporary,
stuff.
I had a temporary sponsor, and I was working the steps.
Okay,
I
so-
went through the fourth and fifth by that time too.
Okay, so what made you go back out? Did you get away from meetings?
I think it was just my lifestyle, the working. No, I didn't get away from meetings. I was going to like 4 meetings a day.
Oh, and you still drank?
Yeah,
Holy
I was
you really wanted to
hammering.
You were a tough
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, I was hammering. So,
Wow.
I had all the stuff that I had, all the tools. I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing, but it just, that first drink, it ruined it. But I will tell you this: when after about the fifth or sixth one, you forget about AA, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it takes time to build that tolerance up. So when I went, and we'll get to that, I'm guessing.
Yes.
When I get up to my later years, that you'll understand why it doesn't ruin your drinking anymore. AA. You'll
Okay.
get to that point.
Yeah, so you got, they say there's nothing more uncomfortable than a head full of AA and a belly full of booze.
Yeah.
Because you know better.
Yeah.
You literally have to lie to
Then you
yourself.
got that guilt and all
Yeah,
that
there's
other
no,
crap.
the denial isn't even strong enough anymore.
Yeah.
You basically got to say to yourself, all right, I know this is wrong. I know I'm killing myself, but I'm doing it anyway.
And
Yeah.
they're going to find out.
And the reason is you're powerless.
Yeah.
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 And so you go back out. How long are you back out for?
Year and a half.
Okay. What makes you come back?
I think some of it was I was in a lot of trouble, so I was with probation still, and they were starting to find that out. And I ended up down at a nut ward, if you will.
Yeah, okay.
Tried to commit suicide twice.
Okay.
One was trying to hang myself, and the other one was cutting my wrist. I did cut the wrist, hanging myself. Somebody busted through the door just as I was getting ready to kick the chair out.
Yeah, no shit.
So all that was I was hitting the bottom.
Sure.
And when I finally hit that bottom at the end, friends were still open to me, welcome me back to the AA and
Always.
and
no matter
always.
what happens,
It's no joke.
come back.
yeah.
Right. You try to kill yourself, come back.
We'll
Yeah.
take you.
We get it.
Yeah.
I think it's about the time I got to know you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we knew each other from 1990 on, I think, and maybe even earlier.
Yeah.
But we started to really get to know each other in 93 more so. That's when we started hanging out more, I think.
Yeah.
92 and 93.
We used to see each other every day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, talk all the time. We did some nefarious things.
Yeah, things we probably shouldn't have done.
right. But we didn't drink, and we always went to a meeting.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
So...
God, I want to know.
Oh,
Anyway.
someday, Brett.
Yes, okay.
So you come back and you kind of fall on hard times.
Yep.
Right. So what is your what is your story at that time? Like, what do you do? You know, you've come to this point in your life where you don't want to live anymore, and now people are taking you back in AA. You got to start turning your life around.
What gave you hope?
Yeah.
So, well, I'll tell you, probably the fire up my ass a little bit. And
Literally?
Yeah, literally. I think was probation. So I tried to commit suicide, ended up in the nut ward. Probation officers on my ass, they're giving me two things. One is you either go to jail for the rest of your sentence or you go to the rescue mission. So I ended up in the rescue mission and went through their program, went to their halfway house, and at that whole time I was staying sober.
So you were homeless?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So February 13th of 93, I ended up in the rescue mission and stayed sober from that point on until I went back out again.
Okay.
So you're going back to meetings on a regular basis.
Yes.
You get a sponsor.
Yep.
Start working the stops again.
Yep.
And slowly you start working your way through this program, which is pretty intense, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's your life.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point you don't really graduate, but you finish it.
What was different this time, though? As far as your step work and
I think some of it was, okay, my ego got the best of me. So when I tried to come back, so in 16 I went back out, 2016, until November 22. I think that every time I came back to meetings, I was seeing people that were either collecting chips or people that had more time than me all of a sudden. And these are people I've been
you
working
bypassed,
with, or I work with them. So my ego wouldn't let me go, wouldn't let me stay sober,
I see.
right? It was my fault, right? And I got complacent in the program. That's the reason I went back out. So now this time it was like when I finally let go of that ego, right, and my pride, and I said, look, I can do this. And, my girlfriend basically said, and this is not why I did it, but my girlfriend said, you go out and drink again, we're done.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was a head case, and I know I needed to stop. I knew body-wise I was gonna take a beating because I was drinking, Jack Daniels and beer every single night.
Yeah.
And I was drinking a lot, and I was ending up in the hospital because my blood pressure was jumping, and physically everything was going down.
Right, so your body's saying "fuck you."
Yeah, we're done. Can't do this.
Your any sense of feeling good about yourself is saying "fuck you."
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you got to get sober. That's the only way. It's the
Yep.
only way out for you.
Yep.
Right. And this was what year was this?
When I came back,
Yeah.
2022.
No, I mean when you came back the time before that. I think you said you.
So I stayed sober from 93 to 2016.
Okay, so the
yeah.
2016, you and I were pretty tight.
Yeah.
And I remember when you went out because you called me from a bar you were drinking. And, dude, I don't know if you ever knew this, but I was fucking devastated.
Oh, really?
I was, man.
Sorry about that, man.
I was on the
Sorry.
phone. I remember being on the phone with you. You had a couple drinks in you, and you were just defeated.
yeah.
And I'm like, you don't have to do this. I'll come and pick you up right now. And you were like, no, man. This is what I'm doing. And honestly, it was the weirdest thing, but I felt like drinking.
Wow.
When I got off the phone with you, I felt like drinking. And I remember it scared me. And I remember thinking, that's so fucked up. Here's this good friend of mine.
Yeah, you're
and
devastated
he's
about
suffering right now with alcoholism, active. And I'm trying to talk him out of it, but at the same time, I think, I feel like drinking. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Right.
And that's my alcoholism. But yeah, it was tough, because you and I got sober together. I mean, I remember
know.
those early years.
I know.
They were great. We had a fucking good time, man.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah, we'll share it with Brett someday.
I remember driving around in my car listening to Naughty by Nature.
Oh, my
singing
God.
1 motherfucking 2 motherfucking 3. And here's Joe and I are like yelling out the lyrics. And, and we're two sober guys, just, playing some old school rap,
Loving it, yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, that's so good.
So, but yeah, I mean, I remember we used to go to, you'd say, hey, you want to go to the 7:30 or 8 o'clock, whatever the hell it was. We would go. And we get out of there, you go, do you want to go to the 10 o'clock? And we go, yeah, I'll go to the 10 o'clock.
Oh,
we ended up
that's
staying
cool.
out till like
Yeah,
midnight,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And then we'd go eat somewhere at a Denny's or some shit,
That stuff doesn't happen as much anymore.
It
No,
doesn't. It
it's gone away.
doesn't. But I mean, that was early sobriety. It was good. It was good sobriety.
Yeah,
it was.
There was a lot of cool
Yeah, it
people
was.
back then. So,
Old AA right there.
Yeah.
so you come back and you go out in 2016.
Yep.
You're out there for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I remember you're still in contact with people in the program.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anybody try to, get you back to the meetings, and are you kind of bullshitting people?
No, I wasn't really bullshit. I was telling people when I drank. So
Yeah.
I was just trying to go in on my own. Every once in a while, people would just see me. I pop up at meetings around here.
Yeah.
And, down where I'm at now and doing the best I could. And it just, but I just couldn't stay sober. I couldn't get it. I just wasn't letting it happen. You know what I mean? I wasn't open.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you're saying that you realize that your problem is ego, lack of willing to be open, and you just don't want it. You're just not ready to give it up.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's such a bad place to be
No
because
humility.
yeah, and the thing is, like,
Right.
no
humility.
this is fucking killing me.
Yeah.
But you just won't let yourself. It's
Yeah.
like
And that's the
you can't get out of
insanity
your
of
own
it.
way.
Yeah.
That is a typical alcoholic.
Yeah.
I can't get out of my own way.
There was, but here's the other thing though too is I had a job that it put me in a lot of pain every day. Right, I worked 10-hour days, and doing the job that I did, it killed me. Right, it put me in a lot of pain every day. So instead of taking painkillers, what did I do? Drank.
Yeah.
Right.
And it killed the pain every night. It killed the pain
That
so
was
I
your
could sleep.
medicine.
That
Yeah.
was my medicine.
See, I
Yeah.
was the same way, but mine was emotional pain. And that's how I first got into drinking
too.
heavily. Is
Yeah.
I had some emotional pain I was going through, and I didn't know how to fucking handle it. And
Yeah.
I was young. I was a young, teenager, and that first buzz hit me, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's relief! I love this."
Right.
And
right.
I fell in love with it, and from that day on, I drank for a fact. So what happened to turn it around that you came back this time in 2022? How did that happen?
Well, it just, I think one day I was drinking at my house. I was out by like a fire pit, right? Smoking a cigar. I used to love smoking cigars. I stopped that also. And I think it just finally hit me. It was like a spiritual awakening for me.
Okay.
Right? God just finally said to me, Joe, it's enough. You've had enough. You did it. I was drinking and driving. I owned a motorcycle. I would drive the bike sometimes that way. I ended up buying a Corvette during COVID. And I ended up driving that 120 miles an hour down the thruway. So, so all that was just like one day I'm sitting by the fire pit and I'm like, this has got to stop. And my health was going down and I could feel that too.
Okay.
I wasn't working the job that I just told you about. I was doing something else. I was driving for a living and I didn't have that pain anymore. So I didn't need that excuse anymore. All I was doing was for the effect.
So some sort of clarity's upon you.
Yeah, definitely. God was in my life. That's for sure right then.
So
How fortunate.
you're sitting there by the fire and you come to some kind of a realization deep down in your gut, right?
Yep.
And what do you do? What's your move?
I think it's just calling somebody. I think I called somebody in the program and talked to them. It might have been, I don't know who it was exactly. I don't. It just kind of doesn't click. The girl that I'm seeing now was with me at the time. Probably talked to her also just to say, look, this has got to stop. So I think between that, talking to someone, and every time I call somebody in this program, like we just hit on a little while ago, is that they're always there for me.
Yeah.
They were never not there for me. So some days I don't feel like I'm a good person, right? But then again, I got friends like you guys and other people in this program that have helped me thick and thin compared to what I went through.
Right on.
So.
And the reason you're successful today is because you kept coming back.
Yep.
Even though 4 years in the middle,
Yep.
all the fucking excuses, all the, issues, and as long as you come back, you got a shot.
Right.
So you've been back now for a year and a half.
About a year and a half, yep.
Yeah. How do you think your sobriety is now?
It's good. Real, just it's big, it's heavy, it's tight. It's right where I want to be.
Yeah. And you know what? You've really gone through a lot. You've put yourself through a lot. Your alcoholism has put you through a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And, we all have a different bottom, and we all have a different path. And like I say, I know people that have come in their first meeting, raised their hand, and they've been sober since. Well, Brett, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't. For the first 6 months, I bounced in and out until I finally came to the realization that I don't want to be in this kind of pain anymore. I just don't.
Right.
I can't do it. It's too dark. And, luckily, I've been able to, one day at a time, keep it together.
Right.
And a lot of it is doing the right things. And it's as simple as going to a meeting, making a phone call. And nowadays, texting. They didn't have that back then. But we didn't have cell phones when you and I first got sober.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I remember I thought I was king shit because I owned a business and I had a Saab. And I ended up getting a car phone.
Of course you had a Saab.
And it was I was the snob with the Saab.
I got a Saab.
And I had a wired with a cord cell phone in my car. And this is back when the cops wouldn't stop you for talking on it. They would think it was cool.
Right.
But I was so badass. The dial was, I push buttons around the back of the thing, and I was like king shit. You know what I mean? I think I was paying like a couple $100 a month for the fucking thing. I really didn't need it. But it was all ego, you know?
So I got to tell you a story real quick about that. My brother and I were just talking about that this morning. My first phone was a bag phone.
Bag phone,
right?
yeah.
And it plugged in to the 12-volt thing, and then you had to dial it on the back.
Yep.
And if I went to a hotel room because I was out on the road doing service time, I had to make sure it was charged up to take it in with me in a bag. But
God.
you were cool back then because it was a freaking bag
I
phone.
remember the
All
first
I can
time.
think of is douchebag.
Right. Yeah. And we're not even talking about alcoholism anymore.
No.
But, there was something called a brick phone, and it was it was cell phone. It was the size of a full size old style telephone.
Yeah.
But it had like a giant brick battery on the back.
I remember that.
And I remember I was
those old big walkie-talkie.
Yeah, I was at this auction, and it was mostly like big equipment, like very expensive shit. And there was a guy there, and he was talking to the money man on his cell phone, and he was like, "They want like 12,000." And he go, and he'd raise his hand. All right, 12,000 was the bid. I'm like, "Oh my god, that is so cool."
Whoa,
you know,
right?
He's talking, and there's no cord. How did they do that? Yeah, and he used to get charged by the minute.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Expensive.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I remember when you would get charged for texts and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
pre-text even.
Yeah.
So back to drinking.
But we digress with our cool cell phones early in the day.
So when I
yeah.
first met you, you must have been just coming back into the program because we had an AA gathering of the card sort, playing cards.
Oh, yeah. That's
Our
when I first
AA
met
poker
you.
games?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Probably then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's
During
funny
winter.
is Joe was, I think you were the first one to start the AA poker game.
I
weren't you?
was. I
Yeah,
was.
and then he went back out and other people started doing it. And I remember seeing you and you were like, I started this whole thing
That's
years
when
ago.
I felt like I really belonged. I had to go to that thing, right? That was cool.
I fell that night, too.
Oh,
you did on the way out,
I
right?
remember that.
That's
Hit
right.
ice. I hit
do.
ice in the driveway.
It was
I went
icy
down.
as
I went.
shit.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
It
I
was
did
a,
it.
It was a Derek
Yeah.
B's house.
Yeah,
Episode
one of
number,
our guests.
Episode number 2, I think.
Yeah, man, I felt like.
But
big
anyways,
shit that night.
let's get back to recovery.
Yeah, okay.
So you come back this last time, things are different. You get another sponsor?
Yes. Do I have a sponsor now? Yes.
You start working the steps again from 1 on?
Yeah, I did a basic thing down to one of our clubhouses. It was back to basics is what it was called.
Hey, you know what? Can you explain to me that? I've never done it,
Yep.
but I hear people saying, I'm doing the Back to Basics program. What is that?
So it's some papers. They do a bunch of reading. They do some reading, and then they discuss it.
Is it all big book based?
Yeah. Yep. That was exactly what it is.
And so what do they mean by Back to Basics?
It's back to starting with
Steps?
step
Okay.
1. Yeah. Basically step 1, 2, and 3
Okay.
is what it is. And going through those steps. I mean, you don't actually, you kind of do them. They want you to do them during the week between the sessions.
Yeah.
It's once a week.
So they want you to focus on that step for the week.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
Make sure you get it because that's obviously why we keep going out. Is if we don't have a good third, right, and we're still not trusting that we we can't fix it ourselves or manage it by ourselves. So I get it.
Right.
When you came back, did you do another fourth and fifth or no?
Not yet. I haven't. We've been talking about it. My sponsor and I have.
Yeah.
So, but due to and I'm not trying to use excuses. Due to the fact I'm so busy right now with life, I just haven't had a chance.
Well,
to
yeah,
sit
you've
down.
got some legit stuff. So
I mean, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Definitely. Especially with everything that's gone on in my past now and everything. I tell you one thing, you don't ever want to do because I'm going to have to make a lot more amends. I feel like I got through a lot of that on my first sobriety of 23 and a half years.
Yeah.
But this session, I need to make amends. I tell you, people, if you ever go out and drink, don't text. Just don't text.
Oh my God, the drunk talks.
Oh, it's the worst.
Man, you can't take that back.
No, it's done.
Yeah, and people screenshot that shit and send it to other people. They
Yeah.
go, look at this asshole.
or
Yeah.
worse, you if
Yeah.
you don't remember it.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
man.
And I was a
There-
blackout drinker too.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank God when I was drinking, I blacked out a bunch of times, but thank God there was no cell phones or texting or some of the stupid shit that I did. I mean, people would tell you the next day,
Yep.
you remember what you said to that girl? I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I walked into a bar one time, sat down, started having a drink, go, hey, what happened to your glass door? They go, you busted it. What do you mean I busted it? You fell and broke your head on it. Don't your head hurt?
Yep.
This was like 2 nights from the time it happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I have no idea that it even happened. I had to pay for it. Just because I was an honest guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and I knew the owner too, so I had to pay it. So, but who cares? If one of them, records of my past, I got to pay for the stuff that I ruled.
Yeah, so eventually when you get to those steps,
Yeah.
you feel like you got some amends to make.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's
Definitely.
tough. That's
Yeah.
tough. Now, during that time that you were sober, the longer times, did you sponsor people too?
I did. I had a couple people that I sponsored.
Yeah. Did you feel like that you benefited from that?
I do, but I wasn't a real good sponsor.
No.
No, because I just didn't know how to really do it
Sure.
perfectly.
There's no instruction
And there's no
manual for it.
perfectly,
No.
I should say, and that's a wrong word to use, but I didn't know how to do it. I guess I was more there for my experience, strength, and hope for
Yeah.
that person. But to try to work steps and stuff, I really didn't know how to do that
Sure.
with somebody. I was
Yeah.
nervous about doing that with somebody. It kind of felt like it's their life, and I don't want to ruin it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but
Well, I know for me it was like when somebody asked me to sponsor them, the first person, all I could think of was the only thing I really know how to do is what my sponsor did with me. So
Yeah.
I'm doing that.
right.
And I did that.
That's fine.
Yeah, they ended up dying, but they went back out and died. I've had, four sponsees die? Yeah.
None of them are your fault.
I know that. But I'll tell you, when it happens, you feel like it's partly your fault.
I know the one you were talking, one of ours.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Yeah, it sucks, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's disease. I mean, for one thing, it's for sure, this fucking kills people. It does.
Oh yeah.
And I was worried about you, man.
I
And I'm so
appreciate
glad
that.
you're back.
I
Right.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I remember seeing you at a meeting. I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
Joe's back.
Yeah.
And my first set of kids, my 2 kids that are grown and have their own kids now, Joe used to come over when they were little, and they used to call him, they thought his name was Jor instead of Joe. So they called him Jor the dinosaur.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And he would come over to my house. I'd pick him up at the rescue mission to get him out of there. And we'd go to my house and I had like a above
Wow,
ground
you guys
pool.
were really close. Okay.
And
Yeah.
Joe would get in the pool and play with them. They'd be like, Jor the dinosaur, and climb all over him. I'm like, this poor fucking guy's trying to get sober. And my little kids are like tearing his hair out.
Did I have hair back then?
You did.
It looks like it worked.
Somewhat, yeah. Yeah, they did. They literally ripped all
pulled
of it
his
out.
hair out.
Yeah, but they shaved his head too, right in the pool. It was
There you
crazy.
go.
So this time, obviously, when you share your experience, it's a lot of experience. A lot of it is an experience of failing
Yep.
and coming back, and that can be some really strong stuff for people.
And very valuable for people.
Yeah, it's very valuable for people. And so, let me ask you this: you've been through the ups and downs, and the dark and the light, and all that stuff.
Scary.
Yeah, I mean, can you sum up, kind of what that's like, or it's a tough question, but this journey you've had. I realize it's one day at a time, and you got today, but when you look back on all that shit, what do you think?
I think that everything I went through was meant to be to get where I'm at today.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Good answer.
So, I mean, it's just, there's everything we just talked about. I mean, it's a small figure of everything that I went through.
Right.
There is so much more
Right. We're
involved
scratching
there.
the surface.
Yeah, I mean,
That's all.
I could tell you some stories that would just blow your mind.
Well, I'll be digging afterwards.
So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, but it's. I'm just glad I went through it. I didn't believe that. I mean, I always felt like there was a God in my life, but I didn't feel like I had him in my life. That I didn't bring him in. I didn't let him in. Right? I didn't
There was
see
no
that.
room for him.
No, I didn't let him in. And then as time went on, and I started getting sober, I let God in. And then I started getting sober, right? And started doing what I was supposed to do. I did the steps. I started doing service work. You know, service work was a big plus. I mean, I used to, dump ashtrays back in the day when smoking was still legal. But now it's like, it's a whole different ball game today. It's a little bit of a different AA in a way.
Yeah, of course.
Things are being read differently than in the beginning I didn't like that. I hated that. And because I'm used to the old AA. But, it's like anything else in this world. There's a lot of changes. And as drunks, we don't like changes. As recovering alcoholics, we don't like changes.
Definitely not.
So today, that's another part of why probably I stayed sober is I accepted the changes, right? And now I'm getting sober again. And plus I'm getting older, right? So I'm getting older and I'm getting smarter and I'm not working as hard. And now I'm to the point where, okay, I'm going to let things in and I'm going to accept them. And if I don't like what it is, then I just got to deal with it. I got to adapt to things today in today's world, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. More patience.
Right. They say it takes honesty, openness, and willingness. And if you're missing any one of those three, you're probably not going to make it.
That's correct,
yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about step 2 and 3. I mean, have you always felt that there's something, even before when you were a kid, felt that there's just something?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and I would briefly touch on that. When we were kids, we didn't really go to church or anything like that, but we did go during like Mother's Day and stuff like that for my grandmother.
Special occasions.
Yeah. Or funerals. So, and then you went there. So in my eyes, there was always a God. There was something. Jesus Christ was there. But I didn't really, I didn't understand it because I didn't have religion.
Right.
And we didn't go to church to learn that. My parents didn't take us, and we didn't do it.
Well, plus you're a kid. So you're like, I mean, I went to church when I was a kid, but I still remember saying, what?
Yeah, right.
What the hell? What?
But you definitely knew that something was in charge of this universe,
Yes,
right?
I agree with that, yes.
Yeah.
So when it came to 2 and 3, did you not have a problem accepting?
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Okay. So then let me ask you this. When you're out and you're drinking and you're doing bad, it's bad for you and all that shit, does 2 and 3 ever come into play?
No.
So you're just not even speaking to your higher power at that point?
Nothing at all.
Well, remember what ego stands for.
Right.
Edging
God right out.
Yeah.
And so you figure your higher power wants nothing to do with you, and you want nothing to do with your higher power.
Yeah.
He
That's
is the
way
higher
it's going
power.
to be.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah. I mean, I got complacent in the program. That's why I went back out. Right? I was
That's
going to
everybody's
the
story.
same meeting,
Yeah.
same meetings. I was listening to the same bullshit. I don't need to hear this anymore, right? I mean, there's one guy in particular I can quote his talk every time. And it's just like that happened a lot, right?
Yeah.
Where I would be going, oh, no, not him. Now he's going to speak now. What the fuck am I going to do with this, right? But it is what it is.
It is.
Right? So you can't do that anymore. And I
No, you
tell
can't.
people that
Yep.
all the time, and I still to this day tell people, do not get complacent in this program. Start going out and going to different meetings. You start feeling something's wrong in that meeting, change meetings.
Just something
Right.
for some sort of action every day. Just something to move forward.
And there are
with the
so
program.
many meetings.
There
Oh,
is.
my God.
How many are there around our area?
Well, last I knew, there was 164, which was really coincidental because that's how many pages in the big book in the program. So but
that's
that's a
kinda wild.
lot. There's a lot of people out there. I mean, just 45 minutes from here, there's a lot of people that don't even have 2 meetings available to them. So we're very fortunate. We've got a very strong community of recovery here.
Yeah, and if you're sitting in the same meetings and you're hearing the same people say the same things, it's up to you to make the move.
Oh, I know.
And that's not saying don't ever go to that meeting again. That's just saying try something new. I recently started going to a meeting I haven't been to in a really long time. And there's some meetings, and this was one in particular, I just didn't like the vibe of it.
Right.
And I can't put my finger on it.
Right.
So I started going back to it, and I went to it last week, and I went to it this week, and I'm starting to like it. And I think it's because there's a lot of people that go to that meeting that I don't normally see.
Gotcha.
And so it's good to, mix it up.
Circulate to percolate.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
So,
There's
Joe,
always a good message there from the younger people and
love
and the
newcomers.
veterans.
Love
Oh my
newcomers.
God, right?
Sometimes I remember just really quickly,
Yeah.
I would hear a new person start to speak and go, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" The old days used to put them in the other kitchen, right, and just go, "Shut the fuck up," right? And now we don't do that. We need to listen to them because they got a good message a lot of times.
Oh, they do.
So,
I love
A good
hearing
reminder.
the raw pain of active alcoholism does something.
And you
to
sit
me.
there and know the potential.
Yeah.
And that's what makes
Right.
us want to take action with them.
Yeah,
help
and you
them
know
out.
that they don't see it.
No.
They're in
didn't.
pain. They're coming in because they're in pain.
struggling. Yeah.
Yep, they're struggling, right? So, well, Joe, thanks so much for coming in and sharing
Thank
with
you.
us. Loved having you. Good
You're
seeing you
welcome.
again. I'm
Yeah,
so
good
glad you're
seeing you.
back and sober.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Thank you.
So
Thank
until
you.
next time on the Glum Lot Podcast, I'm Mark.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Joe.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected, and remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.